What's going on, guys? Today I'm going to show you how to do a fully AFK Helwyr method using a legendary pet and the Penance aura for as AFK kills as possible. This method generally gets about 33-second average kill times, which comes out to anywhere from 58 to 60 kills per hour. However, it might be slightly slower than that if you get a lot of bugs with Chaos Roar. Chaos Roar seems to be kind of weird, but yeah, this method seems to be able to get up to 60 kills per hour and is fully AFK. So hopefully you guys use this method to get some really good Helwyr kills. So today I'm going to be using my main account, and that's because I think this account has already put Helwyr through enough. Moving on to the preset. Before I get further into the preset portion though, there are a few greater abilities and ability unlocks you're going to need for this method. The first is going to be Greater Fury. This ability is required because you need an ability with a 15-second cooldown and that isn't channeled, and the normal Fury ability unfortunately is a channeled ability, so it doesn't really work out that well. It just takes too long to cast. That is the reason you need it. It's not so much for the critical strike portion, although that does help. The other greater ability you are going to need for this method is going to be Greater Flurry. And the reason you need Greater Flurry is because it resets the cooldown of your Berserk a little bit faster. If you don't have Greater Flurry, this method probably will still work out. Just replace Flurry with a Destroy, and you should be fine. But having Berserk reset just a little bit faster helps you get Berserk off every single kill rather than occasionally running into a problem where Berserk wouldn't be off cooldown, which I noticed if I tried to use Destroy instead. Sometimes you would get just a slightly too fast of a kill and Berserk would not be ready yet. So definitely try to get Greater Flurry for this. The third ability you need is going to be Chaos Roar, and Chaos Roar is incredibly strong. It basically makes your overpower with the Zuck Cape hit a 60k, which is completely ridiculous. The only issue with Chaos Roar is it seems to have a bugged cooldown timer, and sometimes it seems to have slightly longer than a minute cooldown, and sometimes it seems to have slightly shorter. And it basically turns into a problem where some kills Chaos Roar will be back and other kills Chaos Roar will not be back, even though your kill times don't really change that much. But anyway, for the relics, you can see we're using Persistent Rage. You absolutely need Persistent Rage to rebuild Adrenaline in between kills. You're also going to need Conservation of Energy and Fury of the Small to be getting the required Adrenaline in order to be getting a consistent rotation. You also are going to be needing the Ring of Vigor from the Extinction Quest, the passive, just to be getting as much Adrenaline as possible so you can get the consistent rotation. These things, unfortunately, are all required. For the Familiar, we are using a Blood Pouncer to automatically loot. This is the most AFK Familiar, it just automatically loots. It's super consistent. As for the gear setup, I don't really know how much you could downgrade from what you see here. Maybe you could downgrade the ring and maybe you could downgrade the offhand, but everything else is pretty much required. So we're using the Cinderbane gloves to boost our poison damage as much as possible. And then we are also going to be using 4 pieces of the Vestments of Havoc just to be getting the full set effect and the additional 20% adrenaline over 100%. This is pretty much required for this method. You may be able to get this to work without that and using a Jaws of the Abyss, but I would probably try to get the Vestments of Havoc set. The hood really isn't that expensive. For the ring, we're using the Champion's Ring. I do have the extra enchantment effect. I don't think you actually need that. You may be able to even get away with a Luck of the Dwarves, but if you do have the Champion's Ring, it is pretty good for this method. And we do want to be getting our damage to be as consistent as possible. So this definitely helps you get to that point. For the weapons, we are using an Abyssal Scourge and an offhand Sliver of Lang. You should be able to use the tier 85 version of this, but the tier 95 is obviously a little bit better. You might be able to even get away with something like a Drygor or something like that. but I probably wouldn't go any lower than a Drygor or the tier 85 Lang for that passive effect. But yeah, definitely the tier 95 one is the best. For the perks we're using on the Lang and the Scourge, I have Precise 6 Lunging 1 on the Scourge, and this is just to get basically a free 6% damage boost on our Dismember. We're using Dismember 2 times per kill, so that 6% damage boost is pretty significant. I'm not really sure how much it actually helps. Like if you have Precise 6, Ruthless 1, you should be fine, but Lunging 1 definitely seems pretty decent. And then on the Lang, I'm using Aftershock for Eruptive 2. This perk is definitely worth it for this method. Aftershock is obviously very strong, but Eruptive 2 is really, really good on poisonable bosses because Eruptive 2 does increase the poison damage you're doing by 1%, which doesn't really seem like a lot, but it also increases your damage from your abilities by 1% as well. So it is a pretty decent buff, especially on poisonable targets. And I would definitely try to be getting Aftershock for Eruptive 2, even though it's a kind of expensive perk. I don't think you actually need it, but again, it definitely helps. You are also going to 100% need the Zuck Cape for this method, just to be getting those huge overpowers that hit like 60k. It is super, super good to have the Zuck Cape for this method. You are also going to need an Amulet of Souls. Obviously, you could use an EOF for this method. However, it costs so much to use the EOF, and since we're not using a special attack, it's not actually worth it. So I would definitely pick up an Amulet of Souls for these AFKing methods, just because they're so much cheaper to use. In the ammo slot, I just have a Tyrant Wind Quiver. You could also use a just the Grasping Rune Pouch, and the only reason we're using this is for the prayer bonus. And this seems really, really helpful because for whatever reason, Jagex doesn't really seem to put a lot of prayer bonus on like modern gear for whatever reason, but this seems really, really good for if you have the tier 99 Malevolence prayer. I think it's Malevolence, yeah. If you have the tier 99 prayer, this seems to be pretty much required. If you're using the tier 95 Turmoil prayer, you maybe don't need this, but since you're not really putting anything useful in your pocket either way, or in your ammo slot either way, you might as well use this. And then we are also going to be using the Penance Aura. This is just to fully upkeep prayer. It seems to almost completely upkeep prayer even with the tier 95, or I mean the tier 99 prayer. Occasionally you might have to use the Ancient Ritual Shard if you like never get a mushroom spawn on you and you don't really take a lot of damage, but for the most part, it seems like Penance fully upkeeps your prayer pretty much no matter what. And then in the pocket slot, we are using a Scrimshaw of Vampirism. Obviously, the superior one is better, but you should be fine just to use a normal or a non-superior Scrimshaw. Moving on to the inventory, it's again a pretty standard inventory. We are just using a Spring Cleaner to clean up some drops. We are using the Zamorgirl's Nexus, or you could use the non-Zamorgirl's one. I think it's what, Death Warden one. Just to store runes for darkness, basically, is all we're using this for. You are also probably going to want to have the Enhanced Excalibur. This is really, really good if you get a back-to-back mushroom spawn. Like if you notice you get a mushroom spawn and then you notice you get this second mushroom spawn, definitely hit the Excalibur just to be a little safe. I've found you should be good if you get a back-to-back spawn, but the Excalibur obviously helps quite a bit. The Ritual Shard, like I said, you maybe need to use this, but most of the time it seems like you probably won't have to. If you're using the tier 95, you obviously won't. For the incense, we're using Lantidime as well as Quirm Incense. And Quirm Incense is incredibly good for this because, like I said, this boss is poisonable. You're able to get a pretty significant poison damage boost from the Quirm Sticks. And then we are also using the Abyssal Armor Spikes. You don't need alloy, but I have the alloy ones in here just because I had a giant pile of them. But yeah, you definitely do not need alloy. The normal ones should be fine. And this is just to get a free little bleed on the target, which is really good with the Champion's Ring. And then obviously we just have some overloads with the potion reservoirs, some weapon poisons, and then an emergency food just in case. And that weird little purple potion is an enhanced luck potion. This basically just gives you a boosted chance to get the rares here because we're not using a Luck of the Dwarves. And yeah, that is the preset we're using. The perks on our armor are just our standard best in slot PVMing perks. In the flex slot though, we do have Absorbative 4. Absorbative 4 seems really, really good at Helwyr. So if you get like a back-to-back or even a back-to-back-to-back spawn, I have found Absorbative 4 makes you pretty much tanky enough to almost always deal with it. So yeah, that should be everything for the preset. Alright guys, so you can see I am here at the Helwyr instance, and for anybody wondering, I'm using the Quirm and Lantidime incense sticks. I know a lot of people have a hard time seeing which ones are which, so make sure your Lantidime sticks are active. The Quirm ones are especially important for this method, but Lantidime sticks are obviously really good just because they save overload doses. But the Quirm sticks are just really good for this because they increase your damage by quite a bit. The other buffs that you're going to need are going to be Darkness, and then I am also using Malevolence and Soul Split. You should be able to use the tier 95 Turmoil Prayer as well. And then we are also going to activate our Superior Scrimshaw of Vampirism. Again, you probably don't need the Superior one. The normal one should work fine. And then we are also going to activate Penance. And then just make sure you have the Potion Reservoir turned on with your overloads. And then use a weapon poison, and you can drink the luck pot if you want. And then you just start the instance, and as soon as you enter the instance, you want to move over here into this little corner. Or I guess it's not a corner, but you can tell it's the correct square because it's like right on this little angle here, as you can see. And the reason we want to stand here is because, as you can see, the mushroom spawn is on this tile here. And if you're standing over on like one square over here to the, what is that, west or east, over here to the east, you'll have an overlapping mushroom spawn here, which you definitely do not want. This square here seems to be the best at making it so the mushrooms don't overlap on you, and you shouldn't really ever move from this square. The only time you ever move from this square is if you get a slow kill because Chaos Roar bugs out and gives you a bad cooldown. You will occasionally move from this square because one of the Cyware Alpha Wolf things will like pull you over here, and then all you have to do is move back onto this tile. But as you can see, for the first kill we did get a 32-second kill, and generally every single kill will look pretty similar to what you see here. So you can see we got a mushroom spawn. We just immediately go into Berserk, and then we will use Resonance here for the big hit. And this should heal us a bit. Usually if you're lower HP, it'll give you like a 3000 resonance. And as you can see, we go into a Greater Flurry to reset our Berserk. And then we immediately use Reflect for the Helwyr's Flurry attack. And then you can see we Chaos Roar, use Overpower, and then we kill it with Punish generally. If you don't kill it with Punish, Destroy will activate, and that'll usually kill it every time. And as you can see, that was a 30-second kill. But as you can see here, we did get a back-to-back spawn, and as you can see, it will be a bit of an issue, but you can see here we do get a 3000 resonance, which makes you pretty tanky for this method, and then you go into a, you get that reflect for the flurry, and that should keep you alive. Like I said, you may need to eat if you do get a double spawn like this, because it can be kind of sketchy, but as you can see, with the Overpower ability, you can survive pretty easily on a double spawn, but if you get a triple spawn, you're definitely going to run into problems. So yeah, if you do get a double spawn, make sure you're using an Excalibur and probably eating one of your emergency foods or something like that. But yeah, as long as you don't get a triple spawn, which is pretty unlikely from what I found, you should be pretty safe with this method. So I'm just going to speed up a bunch of kills here and just show you guys that it works pretty well. There's a little bit of a bug with Chaos Roar. It has an inconsistent cooldown timer. I'm not entirely sure what's happening with Chaos Roar, if it's happening because of the inconsistencies with the way that melee auto retaliates. Like sometimes it'll do an auto attack and sometimes it won't. Usually it'll auto attack though. But there are slight inconsistencies with melee, and I have found that Chaos Roar is the actual problem ability. And generally speaking, what ends up happening when Chaos Roar will bug out like that and give you a slower cooldown is you will get a slower kill, and then the next kill, or maybe the kill after that, you might move from one of the Cyber Alphas that spawns and you'll get a slower kill. But after that, it should fix itself because the slower kill will allow you to have a better reset timer. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoy this video and get some really quick Helwyr kills. If you made it this far in the video, definitely drop a like on it. It does help promote the channel quite a bit. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.